Good day to everyone that is watching this video of my or our presentation for learning barriers in intermediate phase. So the part that me and my group had chose was the second language difficulties. So without any wasting of time, we can start. So the first point of the presentation is multilingualism. We're going to be talking about the policy of multilingualism. So a policy of multilingualism promotes the recognition and use of multiple languages within a country or institution. And then here in South Africa, a policy of multilingualism is implemented to embrace the linguistic diversity of the nation. So what this point basically means is that this policy is implemented to try and eliminate all the diversities of linguistics in the South African context. And then we're going to be talking about the key aspects of this policy. So what this policy includes is the recognition of 11 official languages with equal status. So all the 11 languages that are within the 9 provinces of South Africa are recognized with equal status. So regardless of whether you're speaking English, Afrikaans, or all those other languages, regardless of that, your language is recognized, and then it is treated as an equal with equal status to all the other 11 languages. And then the flexibility in choosing a language of learning and teaching in educational institution. So this one is a focal point on its own, which is understandable. And then we're going to be moving on to language rights and access to government services and information in preferred languages. So, and then language rights and access to government services and information in preferred languages. So this one talks about in all the government in all the government services which are familiar to use to anyone who lives it, to everyone who lives in South Africa. So you are given access and rights to all those services regardless of which language you want to use in need of those services. And then we're going to move on to language development and promotion through initiative like languages, academics, and materials. And then addressing language disparities and providing support to marginalized language communities. So the policy of multilingualism fosters inclusivity, cultural preservation, and effective communication in South Africa. So this policy actually, its aim is to foster inclusiveness and cultural preservation. So this policy is there to protect each and everyone, regardless of the language that they use or the language that they prefer to use. And then when choosing a language of learning and teaching, so here the choice of language of learning and teaching is a significant aspect of education in multilingual contexts. So it is then divided into six parts. This one. So the first one is the mother tongue, the second one is linguistic diversity, and then the third one is language proficiency, and then the fourth one is educational goals, fifth is resources and support, and then the sixth one is the choice of an appropriate language of learning and teaching is crucial in providing an inclusive and effective learning environment that supports language development, educational attainment, and cultural preservation. So, and then another focal point to be focusing on in this second language difficulties is code switching. Code switching, the key points about code switching include linguistic flexibility, cultural identity, communication strategies, language development challenges, and socio-linguistic competence. So in linguistic flexibility, we're going to be talking about the code switching, about how code switching allows speakers to draw on their linguistic repertoire to express ideas and emotions accurately. And then cultural identity talks about code switching can be expression of cultural identity, helping individuals connect with their heritage and community, and then so forth and so forth. And then we're going to be talking about the factors influencing language in the South African context. So the South African context is shaped by various factors that influence language learning and proficiency. Understanding these factors is crucial for addressing second language difficulties effectively. So these factors influencing language in South Africa have key factors. So these key factors include policy of multilingualism, language of learning and teaching, and well-established mother tongue. And then we have the fourth one, which is ESL teachers. And then the fifth one is code switching. The sixth one is socioeconomic circumstances. Seventh one is language proficiency. And then the eighth one is limited language proficiency. And then the ninth one is difficulties in ESL learning. And then the 10th one, which is the seventh one, away from assessments, from the key factors, is assessments of ESL learners. And then the 11th one is support for ESL learners. And then the 12th one is creating a speaking environment. The 13th one is creating a relevant context for learning and differentiation, enhancing vocabulary and concepts, the role of pictures, and the 17th one, which is the last one, is the group work. So these key factors are the ones that influence language in the South African context, the ones that I've just read. And then we have the examples of typical errors made by ESL learners in South African schools. And then we have pronunciation. This was a part of the ESL learners in South African school may encounter common errors due to various factors. So these examples that I'm going to read are those errors, might be those errors when it comes to the South African schools. So it's pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, sentence structure, idiomatic expressions, and then we have colloquial language, we have spelling and pronunciation, cultural nuances. So in pronunciation in English sounds differently based on the mother tongue influence. Difficulty with certain sounds like TH and R. And then we have grammar, errors in verb tenses, such as using present tense for past events. We have incorrect use of articles, for example, a, an, and the, and prepositions. We have vocabulary. Vocabulary is limited vocabulary knowledge, leading to difficulties in expressing ideas. And then we have the misuse or confusion of similar sounding words. For example, there, and then we have there, and then we have they are. So those are three different words which sound similar. So that is part of the vocabulary that might be an error that a learner can make when trying to speak in ESLs. And then we have how can we support learners? How can we support these ESL learners? Exploring strategies and interventions. How can we do that? While we can support these learners by differentiating instructions. So adapting teaching methods, materials, and assessments to meet the diverse needs of proficiency levels of ESL learners, providing alternative resources, modified assignments, and additional support when necessary. And then we have number 2, which is individualized support plans. Developing individualized support plans for ESL learners considering their specific language needs, strengths, and challenges. And then we have the third one, which is English language development programs. How can these programs be implemented? These programs can be implemented by targeting ELD programs that focus on language acquisition, vocabulary development, grammar, and communication skills. And then we have the fourth one, which is language support specialist. And then we have the fifth one, which is language-rich environment. The sixth one, which is collaborative learning. So in collaborative learning, we can promote collaborative learning opportunities where ESL learners can interact with peers, engage in meaningful conversation, and practice language skills. And then we have the value of another point, which is the value of stories as support strategy, exploring the benefits of storytelling. So storytelling is valuable support strategy for ESL learners in South African context, offering numerous benefits for language development, cultural understanding, and imagination. Let's explore these advantages in more detail. So in more detail, we're going to have the first one, which is language skills development. How does this one work? This one works whereby storytelling enhances listening, speaking, reading, and writing skills. And then by that we can say that it gives exposure to stories and helps learners to improve their language proficiency and fluency. And then we have the second one, which is vocabulary expansion. Vocabulary expansion, we talk about the stories introduce new words, expressions, and idiomatic phrases in context. And then we have the second point under vocabulary expansion, which is through storytelling, learners acquire and reinforce vocabulary naturally. So if you are telling learners a story, they will naturally acquire and reinforce their vocabulary, but just by listening to your storytelling as a teacher. And then the third point, under the value of stories as a support strategy, is comprehension and interpretation. So stories provide opportunities for comprehension practice, inferential thinking, and predicting outcomes. And then learners develop critical thinking skills and then to extract meaning from texts. So this is how comprehension and interpretation helps learners to support their value of stories. To support their value of stories to support the value of stories, not their value of stories. Excuse me for that. And then we have cultural understanding as the fourth focal point. And then this one is story reflects cultural values, traditions, and experiences. Through stories, learners gain insights into different cultures, fostering empathy and intercultural competence. And then we have the fifth point in the value of stories as a support strategy for supporting ESL learners. We have the fifth point, which is imagination and creativity. Stories stimulate imagination, creativity, and storytelling skills. Learners engage in imaginative play and role playing and creating their own narratives. And then the sixth point is oral language development. Storytelling encourages oral learners' production, fluency, and confidence. And then learners practice verbal communication, pronunciation, and intonation during oral language development, through oral language development. And then we have second language difficulties in South African context in our conclusion or my conclusion. So these second language difficulties faced by ESL learners in South Africa are influenced by various factors, including language backgrounds, cultural differences, and educational challenges. So the cultural differences amongst these ESL learners and educational challenges that they face are the ones that influence these difficulties for them to learn a second language. So understanding these factors is crucial for educators in developing targeted interventions and support strategies to address the specific needs of ESL learners. And then by implementing effective strategies and providing appropriate support, educators can enhance language acquisition, promote cultural understanding, and improve educational outcomes for second language learners in South Africa. I thank you.